Hi there guys, well we've got the diffs back now, thankfully, finally. So what I'm doing at the moment, I'm just literally taking the seals off the end of the axles. I don't know whether you can see, but basically that's the old one and this is the new one. They look an awful lot different, apart from that one's damaged because I took it out, but they come out at the end of there. I don't know whether you can see that. But they just come out at the end of there. There's the old one, popped it out with a screwdriver, and then we're going to try and do the same thing with the new one. Put a little bit of grease around it and hopefully we'll be able to hit it home straight into there. Well, we'll give it a go. We've got quite a large socket, so I'm going to try and hit it home with that one. Although we have got this rubber seal, so you've got to be very careful not to damage it, and at the same time it causes a cushion, so when you're pushing it in it's not getting a really good compression to push it in, but we'll give it a go and see what happens. Right, let's see, just give it a bit of a clean up. It's got a bit dusty on there now, typical, isn't it? Right, okay, let's see. Alright, first line it up. I don't think you're going to get a very good picture of this probably, but I mean, to be honest, the other ones came out relatively easy, so maybe, to be honest, you might be able to just push them in. You shouldn't be able to just push them in, but there we go. Right now, and I'm actually using a normal mash hammer. Again, probably not the greatest thing, but just gentle taps, and hopefully you'll be able to push it home. But be careful of that seal, not the inner seal, but the outer seal. And hopefully should be good. Right, what you've got to do is check that all the way around the edges it's in correctly. So at the moment it's quite well in at the top, but it's not at the bottom. So just keep gently tapping it in the areas that you think it may need it, just to make sure that it is seated properly and seated correctly. Evenly, rather. And usually you can hear the tone change. And that one still is not sat properly at the bottom. Another attempt. Just gradually increase your. You don't want to damage that seal. This rubber seal here obviously is right on where the metal section is that you've got to push it in. And you do not want to damage that. As you can see there, it's nipped it a little bit already, which is not the bestest of things. You can't push this because that'll just break. That's just an independent rubber seal, so do not want to do that. If you get a little bit stuck, you can go around the edges, which I'm going to do now with something a little bit smaller to try and tease it in. Because at the top we're in, at the bottom we're still not in. So I'm going to try and tease it in a little bit with this without hitting the rubber. Then you see the bottom one, the top bit starts to come out. So you got to just, hence like that. Not the bestest of ideal situations around here to get this in, but we shall try and endeavour. That's broken there already. Got a split in that. Okay. Try. Again, might even be just as easy to push it in rather than hammering it in. Would you Adam and Eve it? That looks pretty damn good. Right, so forget that. Push it in with your hand. You seem to get a lot more control. Yeah, that's seated perfectly. Ironic, isn't it? There we go. So now that's in perfect. So I've just managed to push that in with my hands and it's seated well, so that's great. So that's the old one. That's quite badly worn, but it's the seal on the inside, this seal here, that wears away. On that one you've got a bit of a lip, whether you can see that, there's a bigger lip on there now, much bigger lip, so reducing the diameter. Where on this one you can see it is pretty much worn away. So hopefully we'll have no oil getting out now. Well, we'll wait and see. So now to the other side, and we'll do the same thing on the other side. Okay, so this is the seal on the other side that hasn't been taken out yet. So there is a seal remover, but I just use a screwdriver. It usually works quite well. So you've got to try and get it in. You'll feel there's a lip behind that rubber one. There's a lip, and if you just tap it in a little bit, and then you'll probably feel, there you go, you hear the click? That means it's moved. So then we go to the other side, do the same thing on the other side, just tap it in again, and you'll hear another click and it should just come out. Oh, there we go, bye bye. And that's it, it's out, and that's all that takes. So now we just got to clean up the area of all the old oil and grease and dirt and pop the new one in. So we'll go and get the new one and we'll pop it in by hand, hopefully. Fingers crossed. Okay, so this is the new seal, and just put a little bit of grease around it. Just helps to locate in the axle. Just helps that a little bit. Woohoo! Just to slide in. Okay. Right. Okay. Now then, we're going to try and do the same thing again. I'm going to try and just push the this in by hand again rather than knocking it in. Hopefully that will be successful. You know what, that looks perfect. It's a little bit of a lip. It can't go all the way in, it can't be seated in all the way in. The actual recess isn't as big as the actual bearing. Just going to try a bit more, get a bit more energy behind it. It's all some work. Yeah, that looks pretty good. Just check the bumper. Yeah, that looks seated really well, evenly all the way around. So that is now in. So now that's in, I'm going to leave it. I'm not going to put the shafts in yet, because if you put the shafts in now, all the shafts are going to do is deform the seal, because they're not going to be sat central. They're going to be pressing down on it, because obviously it's not going straight into the diff yet, and it's not going to be located into here. Incidentally, in the previous video we cleaned all these up. As you can see, they've got wet and dirty again and rusty, so we'll have to clean those up a little bit as well with a wire brush and put a little bit more, probably put some grease along there just to tidy it, some waterproof grease, maybe some silicone grease. We'll see what we're going to do, see what I can get, see what I can find, but there'll be something there just to protect the surface, just so that when we do take off the CV and the shaft again, it'll be a bit easier, particularly if it's out on the lanes and we get a snap CV or a snap whatever, you know, then we can change it quite easily. But for now, that's good. We've got both seals in the end, so now I'm going to go and get underneath and clean the surface where the diff goes into the axle, because that hasn't been done yet. The diffs are all clean, but the axles need a little bit of a scrape around to make sure that all the excess silicone that's on there previously is being removed. So I'll go and get a scraper, we'll do that, and then we can get the diff in. Happy days, getting excited. See you in a sec. Yeah, it's good to get all the old seal off. I'm just using a screwdriver here because I'm going to wire brush it in a minute, so I'm just getting the majority of the loose off. But this is a job that's necessary to do. Preparation is everything, you know, so we've got to get it done. This is to be honest, is probably a key part. You don't want leaking afterwards. As you can see around here, there's all silicone. Someone's put a right good douse of silicone all over the threads. It's also just squeezed up through when the diff's gone on. It's gone up through the threads as well. So make sure you get all that off as well. So there's plenty to do. So it's just a matter of cleaning all the silicone off as best you can, and I tend to wire brush it afterwards as well, just in case. But what we'll do is we'll carry on doing this. I won't show you because it's boring. But yeah, we'll see how we go from here, and we'll catch back up to you when we got it clean. Right, okay, here I am underneath the vehicle again. My favourite spot. Not really, but it's fun. Anyway, so we've cleaned up the axle. We've got all the silicone, the old silicone off on the mating sections and around the nuts. Got most of all that off, cleaned it all up. The diff itself is already clean because obviously it's been away to be redone. I've actually put silicone all the way around, as you can see. Now then, there is a way of these going in. There's only one way that it can go in, but just so you know, to line it up, you've got these resets in the axle here, one here and one there. Now they are more this side of the axle, so you can't really get this wrong because these recesses that we just pointed out are for the crown, this one. So as you can see, it's more off-centered this way than it's not in the center. Yeah. So you now know that this has got to fit into there, so you can't get it wrong. Just for lining up purposes, really. It's not, you can't put it in any other way, but it's just so you pick it up and you have this in there. So anyway, we'll try and put it in now, and this is the fun bit because it's blooming heavy and I'm laying on my back. So you might have to bear with me. You might get a giggle. You never know. It might fall on my head. That'll be interesting. Then we'll have a little video of me in A&E. Right, so anyway, let's have a look. Let's see if we can get this thing in. Because it is very, very heavy. And this is just the front one. The front one is not as heavy as the back one. So, anyway, let's get a bit of grip on that one. Right, okay. Right, well that wasn't too bad, was it? Hasn't fell on my head yet, anyway. So that's a bonus in my books. Let's have a look. Let's get a nut on here. Stop it falling off onto me. That is a big bonus. There we go. And basically, all we've got to do now is put these on, tighten them all up, and then we'll stick some oil in it. Obviously, we have the shaft to go back on, the prop shaft. But I'll put these all back on. As you can see, that was relatively smooth. I'm going to put all these nuts back on, and then I'll catch up with you in a minute when we put in the oil in or putting the prop shaft back on. Right, so see you in a second. Okay, right, so that's the diff in, and it's all tightened up. There is a sequence of 20 Newton meters and then a 90 degree. I've just tightened them up. Quite tight, to say the least. With 20 Newton meters is not a lot anyway, and then to do a 90, I think it was quite a lot. I do a lot of torque settings, so I get to know roughly what they are. So I think that's pretty good for me, realistically speaking. Do 20 newtons and do a 90, but I've just done them to what I think it should be. When you start to get to use torque settings a lot, you get to know the feel and the pressure. But to be safe, just do it 20 Newton meters and then a 90, and then you know it's done correctly. What I would suggest is do the 20 first and leave it for a little while. The reason being is that all the silicone sealer is getting compressed and going into the right places, and then just wait a few minutes and then just torque it back up with a 90 on each one. Obviously, you don't just tighten them up all the way around. Tighten one at 20, and star shaped like that all the way. So then, if this was the disc, obviously here, you'd start with this one, and then you do the opposite one on the other side of the diff, and then you'd come back and do this side, and then you'd go, not the one you've just done, but the next one up on the other side, and so on all the way around. That's the right way, so it compresses itself equally onto the actual axle. So 20 Newton meters doing that, and then do the same thing when you do the 90 degrees as well. Same principle. Tighten them in that formation, and that'll keep you from, hopefully, leak free. As you can see on here, there's quite a bit of silicone come out. Generally, I would just, now it's all torqued up, is just run it around with my finger, just like that, just to make a nice seal all the way around. As you can see, you get lots of excess. Now, personally, I don't put lots and lots on. Some people might differ, but I don't want to put too little on that there is a leak. So it's good practice to put enough, shall we say. I try to sort of put on enough. As you can see, there's plenty coming off, but then you are compressing it very tightly. So obviously there will be plenty of surplus stuff coming out. But anyway, that's just me, anyway, how I do things. So what I'm going to do now is go and get the actual drive shaft and attach it to the diff. And obviously we've got this little dangly bit here at the transfer box. So what I'm going to do is, I've got a bit of grease on there now, but I'm going to put a bit more grease on there, stick it back on, put the 4 bolts on there. There's also on here that's missing, what you've got to put on is the weights. Some people take them off and leave them off, but I'm going to put them on. They're there for a reason. It's to stop the vibrations. So if you stop the vibrations, then that's good in my eyes. With it being a Range Rover, it's a bit of a luxury bit of kit really, I suppose, so they try and keep all the vibrations to a minimum. So therefore I'm going to continue, and I'm going to put these weights back on as well, just so you know it's nice and smooth on the motorways. When you're doing these long runs, it's always nice to have a bit of comfort in your life, especially when you're getting on in a few years. Anyway, so catch up in a minute. We'll put the drive shaft back on. Right, okay, here we go. We're going to put the front drive shaft on now, from the transfer box to the axle. So I'm just going to put on the spline, on the differential side, just going to put a bit more grease on there. There is actually a nipple on there, grease nipple, but when it's off, there's no need to use it. So I'm just going to put a little bit of grease in there, because you know, a little bit of grease goes well. I think maybe at some point I'm going to have to change the seal, because there is a seal on this, like a weather seal. I'll show you that in a second. On here, on the drive shaft, there's a weather seal, and as you can see, it's looking a bit dark. That means obviously there is grease of some description getting out, which is not good. So at some point I'll have to get a new one of those, which is good when you're doing these little jobs. You obviously get to see the problems that you've got to sort out. Alright, okay. Slide the rubber on first, like so. That's great. And now just line the splines up. Up. Spliney. Come on, babies. Get on. You certainly don't want to be hitting it with a hammer, because it might not be happy. But yeah. Okay, right, so that's gone on. We've got that slivery sliding on there now, that's lovely. And then the next thing is attaching this to that. Right, now I believe on this one there's actually a certain way that it needs to go on as well to line up, which is that one. There we go. Yep, there we go, we're lined up, I think. Yeah, so that's lined up. Yep, looks good. We'll do a few bolts now. Let's see if we can get them through. Yep, that's gone through. Nice. Just tighten them up by hand. Opposite sides again. Keeping it all happy. There we go. That's through. It's good to wear glasses because I'll get dirt in my eyes. I just felt something really wet in my hair. That's nice. That's probably grease or something.
On your face?
In my diff. In my
in your diff?
In my diff, yeah. Can you imagine that? Right, okay, so we've got them two in there. So right, so I'll tighten these up. I won't bore you with the boring details of tightening them up, but we'll get them tightened up. And then we'll hopefully go on to putting the shafts in and sorting that out. So we'll catch you after I've tightened these up. Okay, see you in a bit. Okay, we had a bit of a battery issue there, but we're back now. So I'm just going to put some, this is diff oil. I'm just going to put a little bit of diff oil on these new seals because we might not get immediate oil on them. I don't want them to burn them out. So obviously if they've not got any lubricant on them, then they're going to be not very happy. So just give them a head start, if you like, on there. Oh, there we go, the wind's coming. All right. And also, I'm just going to put a little bit on here as well, just so we've got a little bit of lubrication going on. That's good. Right. And there we go. Get that off your finger. Smelly stuff, this gear oil, the diff oil, whatever you want to call it. 1890 is, by the way. That's what you put in diffs. Okay. Right, we'll try and put this back in now. To be honest, I'm going to put a little bit on there as well, because it's a bit dry in the new diffs. There's no oil in there yet, so might as well put a little bit on there now to help get the splines in place. Let's have a look. Make sure there's no dirt on the shafts. Shouldn't be, because they've been inside the diff. Anyway, so we'll try now and get this back in without damaging the new seals. There we go. Okay, and that's beautiful. She's gone straight in. Line up the bolts, and look at that. Well, that was better. Bit of luck rather than judgment, I would say, but she's gone straight in. So all we need to do now is put the 5 bolts back in to hold the bearings back in. Well, what you want to call it, the hub. Bolt the hub back in. Just put a bolt in, line them up. There we go, there's one. 4 of these. Going from the back, and these are 15mm head. So there we go, get that one in, and put the other one in. So it's just a matter now of rebuilding everything back up on both sides. Obviously after this, I'll probably put the ABS sensor back in, and then the disc, then the caliper carrier, and then the caliper, and then the wheel. And we should be all done. So just going to put these in again, and I'll get these tightened up, and we'll get back to you in a sec when we put the discs on. See you in a minute. Right, okay, the discs have been off the car for a while, so they've got a little bit rusty again. Hard steel, so they do rust even with damp air. So I've just got my trusty little spark plug brush again, and just, as you can see, just taking the rust off, really. Just so it doesn't wear any brake pads down. But it does a decent sort of job, really. Okay, right, so I've just cleaned that disc off. Put that back on there now. Like so, and then a little screw, a grub screw for the disc. With these little grub screws, I think I said in the last video, but just don't tighten up too tight, because if they get stuck in there, oh, they're a nightmare to get out. And I don't want to put anything on the thread because I don't want to come undone at the same time, because they're not going to be that tight. So here we go. What I've got a really large Phillips screwdriver on a socket that hopefully won't ruin it, but should just be tight enough. Oops. And that's all you need, just a bit of a nip, and that's done. So then, now, what you've got to do is put the carrier on, then the caliper on, then we'll move to the other side and do that. But no point you watching that. I won't record that because it's exactly the same as what I've done here. One thing I will get back to you in a second with, I'm going to put this back on, I'm going to put that back on, and then we'll put the ABS. I'll show you putting the ABS sensor back on, because that's sometimes a bit tricky as well. So I'll catch up to you after I put the basic carrier and that on, with obviously brake pads. Helps. See you in a minute. So here we go. We're putting the sensor back in now. Always a little bit of grease. Always. Because these, if they get stuck, oh, well, yeah, you ain't gonna get them out very easily, that's for sure. And usually you have to drill them out, or yeah, it's just a nightmare. So obviously they go inside the housing on the inside, and whether you're gonna be able to see this, you can have a little look. If we can get the camera in there, I can show you. I'm just going to put some grease inside the hole also. So anyway, you can see inside there's actually a copper section, which when you buy if you buy a new one, these are new ones, then you will get a new copper section to go inside as well. So anyway, hopefully you want it to slide easily, for the simple reason that, like, that was quite an easy slide in, but you just push it in. Now when it stops, you think, oh, it's done. But that's not really the answer. What you want to do is just very gently, if you can, sometimes what happens is that the actual end of the ABS sensor, it shouldn't do, but the end of the ABS sensor can touch the reluctor ring inside. Well, it's not a reluctor ring, but the teeth of the ABS inside. So you've got to be a little bit careful on that. But that went in so easy. If you just move it, right, I can't hear it. If you can hear it, just try and move it back a little bit, because it's gone too far in, because you'll hear it catching. But that seems to be fine, so that's in, and that side is complete, so that's really good. Okay, so now we're going to go to the other side, and then the next video you'll see is the wheels on, and then we'll put some oil in the diff, and then we can get rid of the axle stands, because they're, I don't know whether you've noticed, but they're sinking into the tarmac a little bit, so we need to get it back on its wheels. It's happier on its wheels, and I'm happier it's on its wheels as well. Right, so we'll leave it at that for the moment, but that's the diff in. Just got to put the oil in, but I think we'll cut it here for a second, and when we put the oil in, which we'll probably do in the morning, I'll do the other side now, put the tyres back on, and then obviously get rid of all this, and then tomorrow morning we put the oil back in, and then I'll start on the back. It's exactly the same, it's just this is a rear diff, so it's probably not really much to do with the back any different. It's exactly the same, although on the rear diff it has got the 4-pin diff, not the 2 like it was in the front, which in the previous videos I went through that. That is the only difference really. Obviously smaller brake calipers, it's on the rear. But anyway, I hope that if you are thinking of doing this job, you've give yourself a bit more confidence, because sometimes it's a bit daunting, if you haven't done a job before. It's nice to see the routine, what to do, and hopefully help somebody, if it does, don't forget, do the usual, do the subscribe, do the like, and we'll have a few more videos to come, hopefully every week. I really want to sort of do one every week now. There's going to be lots of things. These rims, as you know, on one of the videos, we cut this out because the new tires were catching. So what we're going to do is hopefully we're going to take out a little bit more of the metal, because I think this may catch as well. Obviously inside here, we're going to have to do some testing to see if it catches. I do believe it's going to catch on these screws here. I do believe, so we may, what I would like to do is take away, we'll see in the next video, is to take away some of this arch all the way down like that. and then make good at the body shop, not just chop it off. Make it nice, do a proper job. And the same down here, cut the bumper down, and we cut this piece off here. I've still got that. And if I cut down here, I will keep this end and we will remold that onto the end as well, so you will not know apart from the fact that there's a bit taken out. It'll all be done properly. We might even put some arches on there, not to hide anything, but just because the tyres are a tiny bit wider than the other ones, so it would just help stop all the car getting covered in mud and things like that. So, but we'll see in one of them videos to come. Anyway, like I said, hope you enjoyed it. I hope it's found something helpful. Any comments, just let me know and I'll get back to you ASAP. Thanks for watching. See you soon. Have you done the logo yet?
Oh yeah, no, I haven't.
Well, put it in then.
Okay, oh yeah, I'm doing it now,
Just put it in at the end with fancy music and that, eh?